Live from the campus of Westfield State University, this is 89.5 FM, WSKB, Westfield.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Westfield Bank. For more than 160 years, Westfield Bank has been an important community presence and commercial leader in the Pioneer Valley. With convenient full banking services in Westfield, West Springfield, East Longmeadow, Agawam, Feeding Hills, Springfield, Southwick, as well as Enfield and Granby, Connecticut, visit us on the web at westfieldbank.org.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 6:01. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC cable channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and I'm in the studio this morning with a sleepy Pete Coles. Good morning, Pete. Your mic,
turn myself up.
There it is.
There
I was going to say your mic's not on. There
yes,
you go.
I'm sort of awake. It was a long day yesterday.
Yeah. So now, other than it was the planning board meeting, correct?
Yes.
That went until the wee hours.
Yes.
And was there anything else?
I had to take my lunch.
Did you have to be in two places at once?
No, but I had to take my lunch hour to bring a friend home from the hospital.
Okay. Yikes. Yeah, that was a long day.
And then run a couple of errands. Take a quick power nap. I mean, like 45-minute power nap.
Yep.
And then come back here, do some more work, and get ready because I'm training now. I'm training the part-timers. The first 3 have gotten their paperwork in, so they're training to start doing meetings.
Oh, great.
And
Now,
special projects.
are those students or who's doing those? Or, what kind of folk are they?
So one of them's Kenny.
Okay. Okay. I imagine Kenny doesn't need a whole lot of training.
Right. One of them is Justin Mihalishin.
Okay.
He's a stick grad.
Great.
Lives in town. And then there's another Ryan Vella who is also, I don't remember, I think he went to Fitchburg State.
Okay.
They'll have stuff in the field. So I was
great.
psyched about hiring all of them.
Yeah.
Justin threw me a curveball. He's like, Pete, he goes, I really feel bad, but Channel 22 just hired me to work nights and weekends. And I'm like, just give me your schedule and let's figure it out. If there's a day we can slot you in, it's extra money in your pocket.
Sure.
So he trained last night and he's like, our planning board meetings always this long? I said, no, this is a particularly contentious issue. And in a preliminary hearing for a new subdivision, it went an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And that's not really how it should go. It's not really till they get into the definitive. I said, they got into some nitty gritty. And even Jay Vinsky said we're getting into the weeds here.
We're getting we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Right. But a lot of, the planner and the board kind of expressed their opinion on it. And Rob Levesque kind of went back and the proponents were there, the landowners were there as well. So they kind of got the feedback and they know where they have to go.
Yeah, right, exactly. So they know what their next step is.
And they know how upset some of the neighbors are about it. And there was only 2.
Yep.
One of them's a golf course.
I know, but you definitely want to know those things.
Right, and it does give them a lot of, and they, one of the planning board members is like, well, it shouldn't just be a loop. There should be 2 exits, and he goes, well, if we make a second exit, it's going to go into 919 Southampton Road. Those condos, that's the only outlet, and that's going to put a lot of traffic through those condos. And do they really want that? So a lot of questions asked and answered. So
yeah, and I'm sure the condos don't want all that extra traffic.
Well, people from Valley Drive would use it as a cut through.
Yeah,
right to Shaker Road.
Yep.
Instead of going through all those things and all the way down the hill, they'd cut the traffic would increase by 300%.
Yeah. Yep.
Easily.
Yep.
So, and Ryan was like, wow, they're talking about some deep stuff. I've been doing this for 2 years.
Yep.
I was like, and I was giving him insights, and he goes, well, how do you know that? I said, because I've been watching these meetings for 2 years.
Exactly. You don't have a choice. I think it's almost like if you're there, your brain is just automatically getting the info,
Right. Even if you're doing 2-3 meetings, you're focusing in on, if something's a hot topic somewhere, you're going to focus in on that for a while and kind of keep an ear on the other 2, but, but you're going to watch, and I've learned a lot. Every time somebody posts in these Facebook forums, hey, what's that building that's going up there? It doesn't matter where there is. I'm like, it's either gone through conservation or the planning board. It has to. By one of the 2 or both.
Yep.
So I'm like, I know exactly what that is. And you answer them and they're like, no. I was like, I've been at the damn meetings.
Yeah. Yep. Plus turn on your TV. That's why we're recording all these.
Like if you follow
Channel 15.
Even more so than council or school committee, and they're they're important, but if you really want to know what's going on in this city, the planning board and the conservation commission are the boards to watch.
Okay, good. There you go. Tip from producer P. Coles.
Yeah,
there you go.
How was your weekend?
Well, my weekend, I'm trying to remember.
I worked all weekend.
I'm trying to remember well, so did I. I was at the Senior Center both days. I'm trying to remember what I was working on.
To Daryl Hall's restaurant out in Pauling, New York.
You're
to watch
kidding.
The band.
Oh, my God. Talk about that. Remember we talked about that on the show
Daryl's house.
Years ago. Yeah, because when it was his birthday, we were talking about that and we should do this. And
right.
How was it?
So this fall, my friend's band.
I can't believe you did that.
My friend's band, Unforgettable Fire, played a whole bunch of shows in the area.
Okay.
The lead guitarist is a classmate of mine, and he went to Cathedral. And so I was away for one of them, and there was another one I couldn't make, and it's just a whole bunch of things. So I said, as a Christmas present for my girlfriend, I bought tickets back in December for their show on April 1st.
Okay.
I said, it's not a joke.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
I actually bought the tickets.
Yep.
So that reserves you a table in the place. It only seats about 250 maybe at the most.
Okay.
It's a very intimate space.
Yeah.
And it's modeled like his barn. Well, it's he had a web series called Live from Daryl's House where he invited friends over. They played. It was huge. It became a TV show for 2 seasons. But the restaurant came open in town. He bought it and remodeled it to look like his barn and his house.
Okay.
So we had a great dinner there. I mean, the food's not cheap because it's New York and it's chefy, but the food was excellent. And then we watched a great show, and you're literally, the farthest seats are maybe 100 feet away.
You're right there.
Right, you're on top of it.
Right there.
And so, I mean, a rock band, they're playing U2, they're rocking the house. I posted Where the Streets Have No Name when they played it for Patrick. Mm-hmm. And I tagged him on it.
Good.
Thank you so much. And it was we had a great time. But the thing is, it's 2 hours away.
That's what I was going to ask you. Where is it located in New York? Like, give me for instance. How did you go?
It's about 7 miles north of 84.
Okay.
Just over the New York state line.
Okay.
So we went like Route 7 out through New York.
Yep.
Out on the back roads, and then came back on 84 because it was dark and it was late. And I didn't have any adult beverages, so. But I was tired.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
But it's a nice ride out there if you want to stay overnight.
How fun.
You can do that. There's
I'm so impressed that you did that, Pete, because, oh my gosh, it had to be.
I've been wanting to go for a long time.
I know, we've talked about it. We talked about it on the show when it was his birthday. And then you went through this whole thing and we said, oh my gosh, road trip.
I think we should assemble a group and
then
go out there.
And then COVID hit and, bets were off. So
we should assemble a group and go out there for the jazz brunch that they have on Sunday mornings.
Ooh, how cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. So that was great. What a fun. So you did that on Friday night?
Correct.
And then you had to work. Oh my gosh.
And then I had to work at 7 o'clock the next morning.
Oh, Pete. What time did you get home? I don't even want to know.
12:30.
Yeah. Yeah.
Luckily, Christy's house was on the way back, so I was able to drop her off and then come home and crash.
Yep. Yeah. Right. If you took 84. Yeah. Good. Yeah. That's
so we
awesome.
had a fun night out on Friday, yeah.
Well, James Jordan and I were talking about this the other day. Like, we watched a ton of basketball. That's what we've done for the last 2 weeks, all about March Madness.
Sure.
And James said to me the other day, because he was out on Monday, so yesterday we had to catch up with all the final games and, what our opinions were. And, of course, if we were the coaches, what we would have done. And, he looked at me and he said, well, what are we going to do now? I mean, we've been, like every morning we've been coming in and talking March Madness and basketball. So, but it was a lot of fun. And, kudos to the UConn women's Husky team. And I know you got kind of blown out in that final game, but to be honest, I really didn't think they would make it to the finals. I think they overcame so much. And honestly, that final game was about what I expected. South Carolina was just unbelievable. They just, you know what, Pete? They went out there and from the tip-off, they were full speed ahead, and UConn really didn't. They got within 6.
Does
and I
CBS
was
still
surprised
use this team?
Yeah. Well, they weren't on CBS. They were on, it's women's. They never put them on CBS. They were on ESPN.
Oh, okay.
But, yep. Yeah, and then the men's game was a good North Carolina Kansas game was a great game. How North Carolina blew a 16-point lead, I don't know. As I said to James, they were up by 15 at the half.
Yep.
At one point, they were up by 16. They were up by 15 at the half. I went upstairs to take a shower, kind of get ready. Then I thought, well, just come downstairs and just, watch it. It's a blowout so that I could just go to bed. No, it was a 3-point game, and Kansas was ahead. I'm like, what the heck happened when I went to take a shower in the second half? So then, of course, I was away. So James and I were, like this, trying to the next day because you can't, because you're.
That's how I felt about
you're up so late.
WrestleMania Saturday night. After being up all that time, I came home and took a nap. And I was watching WrestleMania, which is the big entertainment show.
Yeah.
And the final match was Stone Cold Steve Austin's coming back for one more match. I'm like, I can't sleep.
No, don't. I gotta go to bed.
I can't sleep. Then I came home on Sunday, and I was watching it, and I just literally fell asleep. I was like,
Yep.
Out.
That will sometimes happen. But anyway, so that was the weekend. All right, so let's do today is, I can't believe it's April already. I'm so excited that we got through March. I have one of my seniors who's in my side-by-side group said she doesn't like March because it's just this incredibly long month with no, holidays or anything to take a little break. But we did it. We got through March, and I'll tell you what, it's supposed to come in like a lion and go like a lamb. Well, it was not going like any lamb last week because we were out there with, I had ski pants on a couple of days last week. It was freezing. Absolutely freezing. I was like, what the heck is that? It was the wind. Monday and Tuesday went right through us. We were all just saying, I think my body was kind of saying, hey, what the heck? 4 days ago it was 50 or 60, and now it's, 25 with a wind chill. And it was bitter. It was just bitter. It was not, it was cloudy and raw and yuck. But anyway, today it's just kind of rainy out there. Luckily for me, I had to go in.
In the 50s today.
Yeah, so it's not too bad. We are doing fitness signups at between 8:45 and 9:15. Mary Lou and I said, why couldn't we have scheduled this for yesterday when the weather was really beautiful? But we did not. So I was over there this morning at 5 a.m. putting cones out because the last time I got to the senior center after my show when we were doing fitness signups, and they were already snaking their way through the parking lot and waiting in line. So I thought I better get the cones out before the radio show, which is why I got here nice and early, because I was up nice and early. So just a reminder for all you folks who are doing fitness signups this morning, Mary Lou and I will be out there from 8:45 to 9:15 to sign you up. And we are snaking you through the parking lot, so make sure that when you come into the parking lot, the cones will tell you where to go. Please do not be running over the cones. We have had that happen. Don't do that. Go to the left, snake your way through. You're going to zigzag through the parking lot. Pete, I could tell you stories that we could do a sitcom at that senior center and just go to work. That's all we have to do. We don't have to have a script. We could.
So should I put it in a waterproof outdoor camera and show the trials and tribulations of the senior center?
Pete, off air, I'll tell you stories. You wouldn't believe it. All right.
Maybe I will put up a camera.
No.
We'll stream live from the senior center.
There it is. All right. So we do have, I want to do this first birthday before we take our first break because this is really cool. So it is the birthday, I got to get my sheet here. It is the birthday of the late Gertrude Baines. She was an American super centenarian. Now, a centenarian is someone who turns 100 years old, but she was a super centenarian. She was born on this day in 1894 in Shellman, Georgia. She died on September 11th, 2009, at the age of 115 and 158 days. So she was 115 years and 158 days old.
Wow.
Gertrude Baines was the oldest person in the world from January 2nd, 2009 until her death on September 11th, 2009, because the person who had been the oldest passed away on January 2nd, 2009. She was the last person known to have been born in 1894 and the oldest ever person to have been born that year. Gertrude Baines married Sam Conley at a very young age and had one daughter who died of typhoid fever at the age of 18. Baines was known to have been living in Hartford, Connecticut, before moving to Ohio, where she worked as a maid at Ohio State University. She later moved to California, where she lived on her own independently until she was 105 years old. Gertrude Baines spent her final years at the Western Convalescent Center in Jefferson Park, Los Angeles. When asked what she credited her longevity, she answered, "God. Ask him. I took good care of myself the way he wanted me to." Baines, a daughter of former slaves, cast a vote for Barack Obama in the 2008 U.S. presidential elections. The only time she voted before that was for John F. Kennedy. So happy birthday to the late American supercentenarian Gertrude Baines. That's a whole lot of years to be alive.
Tell me about it.
All right. So it is 6:15. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses and WCPC cable channel 15. And I had to play the song 100 Years by Five for Fighting in honor of the birthday of supercentenarian Gertrude Baines. We'll be back.
I'm 15 for a moment, caught in between 10 and 20, and I'm just dreaming, counting the ways to where you are. I'm 22 for a moment, and she feels better than ever, and we're on fire, making our way back counting the ways to where you are. 15, there's still time for you. 22, I feel her too. 33, you're on your way. Every day's a new day. Got 100 years to live.
Underwriting support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Greater Westfield Chamber of Commerce, the voice of business for the Greater Westfield communities. Informing, educating, advocating, the Chamber provides opportunities for members to make meaningful connections on local, regional, and state levels. For more information on the Chamber's many events, workshops, and programs, as well as the benefits of membership, visit westfieldbiz.org. The Chamber focuses on the most important economy, yours.
Hi, it's Bob Plass, and I have Wow, It's Tuesday, every Tuesday, 6 to 8. Wow, it's Tuesday.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
I did it!
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 6:20. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC Cable Channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and I'm in the studio with the chairman of the board, producer Pete Coles. Good morning again, Pete.
Good morning. By the way, we had a Jay sighting yesterday. He came in for the first hour of Wow, It's Tuesday.
Oh, I missed it. You know, I was just thinking about that when I heard Bob's little promo there, and I thought, I forgot to tune in yesterday. I'm trying to remember what I was doing yesterday.
Yeah, Jay came in for an hour because
that's so great.
Rick saw him at the Brewfest meeting, and Jay came to the first meeting. He's doing the audio for that.
Nice.
And so he's like, Rick's like, okay, can you come in? We don't have a guest. And Jay's like, I'll be your guest for the first hour.
Oh, that's so funny. That's
so at least
great.
he came in for a little bit yesterday.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Okay, that worked. Yes, and speaking of guests, it is the first Wednesday of the month. Hard to believe, but we're into April already. So my guest will be Dr. Gary Gorman, a chiropractor with Strength for Life up at East Hampton. So we've got a couple of interesting topics that we'll be talking about later on. So he'll be joining us at around 7:15, so stay tuned for that. In the meantime, today is the birthday of the late Leo Robin, who was a composer, lyricist, and songwriter, and you're going to recognize some of the songs that he wrote. He was born on this day in 1900 in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and passed away in 1984 at the age of 84. Leo Robin's first hit came in 1926 with the Broadway production By the Way, with hits in several other musicals immediately following. In 1932, Robin moved to Hollywood to work for Paramount Pictures. His principal collaborator was composer Ralph Ranger. Together, they became one of the leading film songwriting duos of the 1930s and the early 1940s, writing over 50 hits. Robin and Ranger worked together until Ranger's death in a plane crash in 1942. After that, Robin continued to collaborate with many other composers over the years. Robin collaborated with Ranger on the 1938 Oscar-winning song Thanks for the Memory, sung by Bob Hope in the film The Big Broadcast of 1938. That was to become Hope's signature tune. Robin and Jewel Stein wrote the 1949 score for Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, including the song Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend, a signature song for Carol Channing, and then later Marilyn Monroe. So happy birthday to the late Leo Robin, composer, lyricist, and songwriter. And he did a lot of other musicals and other music that you would recognize. And speaking of music, it is also the birthday today of Merle Haggard, country singer and songwriter, Born on this date in 1937 in Bakersfield, California, Merrill Haggard today is 85 years old. He's an American country music star of the 60s, 70s, and 80s, although he has continued to release albums into the 2000s. He has had 38 number one hits, including a streak of 26 number one country singles in the 1960s. Some of Haggard's most popular songs include I'm a Lonesome Fugitive, Mama Tried, Branded Man, and Okie from Muskogee. He has released 70 albums and 600 songs, 250 of which he has written himself. Haggard was inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame in 1977 and into the Country Music Hall of Fame in 1994. So happy 85th birthday to Merrill Haggard. I know. I can't believe it. Okay, so we'll do some other birthdays in a few minutes, but April is National Internship Awareness Month. So during April, National Internship Awareness Month sets out to dispel many myths surrounding internships. This is a topic that is near and dear to my heart because I supervised hundreds of interns when I was at Springfield College, and now we work with interns at the Senior Center. Haven't done so since COVID. Prior to that, we had an intern pretty much every semester, so hopefully we'll start back up with that soon. Internships offer a great way to teach and share information with a person ready to start his or her career. Internships provide employment training and experiential learning opportunities that often enhance a person's professional qualities, like strengthening soft skills such as teamwork, communication, problem solving, and professionalism. Internships provide job seekers the chance to break into the workforce and gain meaningful experience to launch their careers. This step is often difficult for people with little to no experience. Employers offering internships find it to be a low-risk, cost-effective workforce solution, often leading to a permanent hire. Internships are an excellent way to gain real-world professional experience through meaningful opportunities. Internships allow you to assess the right fit and align with your professional goals. Internships are not just for the summer. They can take place all year long and can vary in length. Some internships go for an entire year. And internships don't always lead to a permanent position. However, the relevant job experience can be included in your resume when applying for related jobs. And internships are offered by many fields, almost all fields, to be honest with you, from business to government, finance, social services, education, and skilled trades. And, I mentioned that I had supervised a lot of internships when I was teaching over at Springfield College. And there's a really interesting thing about internships. I had one semester, I had two students that were completely on opposite ends of the spectrum. And I always used to tell this story in my class when I was doing practicum seminars. I had one student she was a straight A student. She was unbelievable, textbook, you know. And I had another student who was probably about a C+ student in the classroom. Not a really strong writer, and they had to do a lot of writing for my classes. But he was on the gymnastics team. He was an amazing gymnast, great personality. Okay, I have these two students in the field. They were doing very different types of field work, but I had them in the field. So my A+ student is in the field. She was in a classroom situation because I want to say she was in one of the therapies like OT, PT, or that was her, career goal. Yep. Anyway, put her in the classroom. She was a mess. Put her in the field. Put her in the field. I mean, yeah. If it wasn't on, chapter 2 in the book, if it wasn't a textbook scenario, she was really struggling.
I know people like that in the television industry.
Yeah,
they have degrees and they can't. But they can't turn on a camera.
Yep. So here's what happened to my C+ student, Pete. He got placed up at Providence Hospital there was an addictions unit up there. He got placed on the addictions unit at Providence Hospital day one. And he was a sophomore at the time. He's in a group, support group with, a licensed therapist. And in the middle of the group, she gets an emergency crisis phone call from home. They were short-staffed because, they're always short-staffed on places like that.
Yep.
She literally had to run out of the meeting, and she said to this student, all right, you need to take over, because there was still like another half hour or so to the meeting. Now, this is an inpatient addictions unit.
Right.
These are serious
This is
cases.
heavy duty, yeah.
This is day one. Pete, he didn't miss a beat.
Yeah.
Took over, ran the rest of the group. So that's day one. At the end of like the second week, they had him working different shifts. So he was, to really get the flavor of what happens on a unit like this. It's not just all,
get a full exposure.
7 to 3 or 8 to 4. So he's working the night shift. So he had worked the night shift a couple of nights where it was like the evening shift. So he ended at around 10 or 11, whatever it was at night. So they said to him, okay, you can do rounds. So you basically what you have to do on an addictions unit is you spend a lot of time checking on your folks to make sure
they're there.
They're there and they're okay.
Seriously,
and so forth.
that's
Yep.
They try to escape.
Not only that, they also attempt things like suicide.
Yes.
And he did his rounds, and there was a guy who was starting to go through the motions of he's going to hang himself. This kid went in there, got him down, talked him down, called for help, did everything he needed to do. That was like the end of the second week. C+ student, unbelievable in the field.
That's what people said about me, though. When I'm not a great school type person.
Yeah, not everybody's
not
everybody's book smart, and not everybody is good at taking tests.
Right. But it
doesn't mean they can't learn.
Right, but that's what people have said. I've been so adaptable. I've had 3 different careers with the city that are widely varying.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, dispatching to IT, now to this.
Yep.
And I've adapted to all of them.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. It's real. And it's so funny. Now my daughter Grace she is doing an internship. So Grace has a degree. She went to Westfield State. She's got her degree. Decided to go back and she's at HCC. So she decided to go back and get a certificate in vet as a vet assistant, animal vet. Well, there's actually vet assistant, and then there's vet tech, and then there's a veterinarian. So she went for the vet assistant, Pete, which is just 2 semesters, kind of like working the front desk, that kind of thing.
Yep.
So she started that. She got halfway into it halfway through the first semester, and she said, "You know what? I really like this. I'm going to apply for the vet tech." Now, that's a 2-year degreed program.
Yep.
So in order to...
But in the meantime, you could start working as a vet assistant.
Well, here's the thing. So she gets an internship because they start them first semester. That's when she decided. She did her internship. She started her internship at Westfield Animal Hospital.
Yep.
She was there for maybe 2 or 3 weeks, and that's when she said, I'm going to apply for the vet tech. I can make more money. It's more hands-on, and I know I really like this. Now, how do I know that? Because I've already started my internship. Mm-hmm. So she finished up last semester as vet assistant. So she still has 1 semester to go. She'll finish the vet assistant, the certificate program next month, because that ends, I think, in the end of the semester in May. But in the meantime, she finished her internship around the holidays. She has to do another internship this semester. The animal hospital asked her to come back because now they've started training her. And she said she's really doing vet tech stuff because she mastered all the other stuff.
She's probably fast-tracked towards a job at the end of the tunnel.
You know what, Pete? Absolutely. She came home last night because now they've got her working Tuesdays and Thursdays from 12:30 to 8:30 at night. So she called us last night and she said one of the vet techs, one of the head vet techs is going to be out for the week because she's been sick. She's going to be out for the week. And so they were shuffling people around. And, the people that work there said, okay, well, we're going to put Grace on basically doing vet tech stuff because we know she can do it because we've been teaching her this.
Yeah.
Yep, she's supervised, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then Grace said that, so the new kid on the block, who's like the floater, is really going to do what Grace has been doing, which is kind of floating and getting a handle on everything. She's loving it.
Well, think about this. As hard as it is, and you know this and I know this, to find people, period.
Yes.
To find people who are interested and are passionate about it are like the unicorn.
Yes. Yeah.
And if you can groom that person into your policies and procedures, you have a home run.
Absolutely.
And especially if you think that they're going to stay.
Absolutely.
Like
Gracie,
if they like the area.
She loves it. Yeah, right. Well, exactly. Just got a house. She's not going anywhere.
Well, but if they hire,
if
they hire, part of the interview process is, listen, I've worked in Florida. I've worked out on the Cape.
Plymouth,
and I wanted to be here.
Yep. Came back.
That's something you say in an interview nowadays because people are like, yeah.
Yep.
And like I told you, I had 8 people actually apply for the job here, the part-time job. I was going to hire 4. 5 showed up.
Yeah.
I hired all of them.
Yep. And you're right, Pete. It's interesting. I was on a job interview many years ago for Springfield College, and I was being interviewed by a search committee. So there were like 5 or 6 people on this team. And I remember one of the professors who was interviewing told me later, he said, when we left that meeting, and I was not credentially, I was not the most qualified. I didn't have a PhD, and everybody I was up against had a PhD. But he said to the group, but my vote is for Tina A because she's already been working here with us as an adjunct, so we know her.
Yep.
We know her education here. But he also said the same thing you said. Her husband just opened a practice. This was years ago. Her husband just opened a chiropractic practice. They're not going anywhere.
Right.
And the problem was that they had a succession of professors who had gone in there.
Turnover, yeah.
Come in from California, lasted 2 years and said, okay, well, this was nice. I tried out Massachusetts. I'm not crazy. I'm going to move to Texas. So, every time they kept bringing people in, it was like, well, then they were gone, and you train them and so forth. So,
Yep.
yeah. And by the way, one other thing I didn't mention about Grace's internship, last semester they were so impressed with her, they asked her to come back and do the internship this semester. It's a paid internship.
Exactly.
So she's getting paid for this. So it's a win-win-win all the way around.
They're
Exactly. Absolutely. And, why not? It makes a whole lot of sense to do that. So we are celebrating National Internship Awareness Month. So all good stuff. All right, it is 6:35. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses and WCPC Cable Channel 15. And in honor of the birthday of Leo Robin, who wrote this song, we're going to listen to Bob Hope singing Thanks for the Memory. We'll be back.
Thanks for the memory of sentimental verse, nothing in my purse, and chuckles when the preacher said, for better or for worse.
How lovely it was. Thanks for the memory of Schubert's serenade, little things of jade, and traffic jams and anagrams and bills we never paid.
How lovely it was. We who could laugh over big things were parted by only a slight thing.
I wonder if we did the right thing. Oh, well, that's life, I guess.
I love your dress.
Do you?
It's pretty.
Thanks for the memory of faults that you forgave, rainbows on a wave,
and stockings in the basin when a fellow needs a shave. Thank you so much.
Thanks for the memory of tinkling temple bells, alma mater yells,
and Cuban rum and towels from the very best hotels.
Ah, how lovely it was. Thanks for the memory of cushions on the floor, hashed with Dinty Moore, that pair of gay pajamas that you bought and never wore.
Say, by the way, whatever became of those pajamas?
Huh? We said goodbye with a highball.
Then I got as high as a steeple.
Did you?
But we were intelligent people.
No tears, no fuss.
Hooray for us.
Strictly ingenue. Darling, how are you?
And how are all those little dreams that never did come true?
Awfully glad I met you.
Cheerio and toodaloo.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Support for community radio on WSKB is provided by Betts Plumbing and Heating Supply Company, an independent, family-owned wholesaler serving Westfield for over 50 years, specializing in plumbing, heating, and industrial piping supplies. On the web at bettsplumbing.com or at 14 Coleman Avenue in Westfield.
I'm Mark Auerbach. Join me every Friday at 8 a.m. for Arts Beat, where you'll meet interesting actors, directors, designers, and musicians here in Western New England.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 6:39. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC Cable Channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host. And as you can see behind us, I got Pete Coles in the studio with me, and we are showing you the Park Square Green. It's a rainy day today, but Pete said it's going to be in the 50s, so not terribly cold,
right?
Thankfully, because we do have our fitness signups this morning, and it's not really that fun to do it in the rain, but it's particularly not fun if it's really cold. But it's not too bad out there. It was like mid-40s when I got here. All right, April 6th is the birthday of the late Mary Maples Dunn, and this is an interesting person locally. She is a historian and educator. She was born on this day in 1931 in Sturgeon Bay, Wisconsin, passed away in 2017 at the age of 85. Mary Maples Dunn was an educator who brought a scholar's knowledge of the history of women to her long tenure as president of Smith College, and who defended the role of women's colleges in an increasingly diversifying society. Dunn spent most of her career at women's colleges, which had been established long before women were admitted to many colleges and universities throughout the United States. When she became Smith's eighth president in 1985, the need for women's colleges was being widely debated. In the previous 15 years or so, many all-male universities had opened their doors to women. But Dunn maintained that all female colleges remained essential. And this is a quote from her. "In women's institutions, women experience autonomy and power," she said in her inaugural address. "There are no choices they cannot make freely and without those subtle social obstacles which still suggest to women that there are things we shouldn't do." At Smith, one of the originally all-female Northeast colleges, known as the Seven Sisters, Dunn made racial diversity a goal at what was long considered a conservative institution. Founded in 1875, a long list of notable alumni, all these women graduated from Smith: Sylvia Plath, Julia Child, which I didn't know that one, Barbara Bush, Nancy Reagan, Betty Friedan, and Gloria Steinem. Dunn's diversity project was prompted in part by a number of racist incidents on campus. Prior to her departure from Smith, Dunn said, "I would like to think that I had something to do with preparing the organization and the institution to live in a more diverse world than the one we used to inhabit," she said. "This college will never go back to being a homogeneous, white, mainly Protestant, sometimes Jewish enclave." So happy birthday to the late Mary Maples Dunn, former president of Smith College. Hey, Pete, you know what I wanted to ask you, because you work at Mount Holyoke, right? Yep. That's your part-time thing. Now, is Mount Holyoke still all women, or is that
It
co-ed?
is all women, yes.
It is still all women. So Smith and Mount Holyoke, still all women.
And our president is leaving. She's going to the American University in Paris.
Oh, wow. I thought you were going to say American University in Washington, D.C.
No,
wow.
no.
In Paris. To be president?
Yes.
There? Wow. That sounds like an amazing opportunity. Do they have a search committee? Have they selected someone to take her place?
They have an interim,
or?
the interim
Okay.
that's somebody that used to be there.
Okay.
I can't remember the name, but so there's another search committee. She was only there less than 10 years.
Yeah, it's interesting because back in the old days, college presidents were typically at colleges for a long time. And I've noticed Even at Springfield College, they've gone through, there was one forever, and then,
it's kind of
now,
crazy.
yeah, and of course, Westfield State, we've seen them come and go and so forth.
It's like a rotating door. You can't get any. It's like
is.
being a mayor. You can't get anything done if you're only there a couple of years.
I know. That is and speaking of the mayor, reminds me we were talking before about the planning board meeting last night. So we have city council meeting is scheduled for tomorrow night.
I know.
No, that one is going to be. It's going to be a late one, I think. I think there's.
Good, Kenny.
Yeah, Kenny's doing that one?
Hey, Kenny, you're going to be late.
Well, I can tell you because the Complete Streets is going to be on the agenda.
I don't understand why people are dying on that hill.
That's...
the hill you should be dying on, all the people that have been standing out, the hill you should have been dying on is police reform, which decimated our police department. Well, that's the hill you should be dying on because of that police reform bill that quietly passed during the COVID era, we can no longer have events on the green, period.
Really?
Oh, yeah. You can't secure the green. They don't have enough guys.
Oh, okay.
They don't have enough officers to cover all the crosswalks without the auxiliary force.
Yeah.
So you can't do it. You can't do anything public on the green anymore. You just can't.
Yeah.
Or at least not something big.
Yeah.
The mayor said it a couple times in public, so I'm not speaking out of school.
Okay. Yeah. Well,
but that's the hill you should die on because they've decimated police departments across the state, except for the big city departments that have all full-time guys.
Yeah.
All our part-time reserves are gone because because of the way the training requirements are, and all the auxiliaries are gone.
Yeah, and the auxiliaries did a ton.
Right.
They did a ton. I mean, I know because we used to have them at the senior center.
Yep.
So. All right. And if you want to, if you have an opinion about some of this stuff and you'd like to talk to your state legislators, I can tell you Kelly Pease was at the senior center on Monday.
We had him in here on Tuesday.
He's going to follow suit with John Vilas doing monthly office hours at the senior center. So this was a little bit of we scheduled Kelly for the third Monday of the month, but the third Monday of the month this month is Patriots Day, and he had already planned a vacation. So this month we did it on the first Monday of the month. He really wanted to get started with that. So he was here the other day, met with some folks in the Fireside Lounge. And we always tell people, and of course the state rep and the state senator know, if somebody wants to talk to them and they need privacy, we also have a room set aside for that. So don't hesitate. If you come in, they kind of are in the Fireside Lounge just so that people can see them. But if there's something that don't hesitate to say, this is a private, can we go someplace more private? Yep. Yes, you can, and we have that squared away. So starting in May, Representative Pease will be at the Senior Center on the third Monday of the month from 12:30 to 1:30, and Senator Vilas and or his legislative aides are at the Senior Center on the fourth Monday of the month, so the following week, same time, 12:30 to 1:30. So we kind of have that designated as our legislative office hour time slot. And we have people coming in. We kind of did it on purpose that way. We have the Do-Re-Mi singers rehearsing it starting at 1:00, so they can come in if they want to a little early and meet.
Sure.
We have some fitness classes going on beginning at 1:00, so they can come in and meet. So all good stuff. Also, I'll make one more announcement. Pete, you were talking about the police force. We are partnering with the Westfield Police Department on Saturday, April 30th. We are hosting National Prescription Drug Take-Back Day. That's a little bit of a misnomer, though, because it doesn't have to be a prescription drug. It can be over-the-counter drugs as well. So all of those medications, we're really encouraging you to clean out your medicine cabinets, look at the expiration dates. If you have a spouse who has passed away and you've got your spouse's old medications, you need to get rid of those. If you have kids that have grown up and moved out and you still have their antibiotic from when they were in the 5th grade, that needs to be, you need to get rid of all of that stuff. But there's a safe way to do it. You don't want to flush it down the toilet because it's going to all end up in the water system. So you can stop by the Senior Center on April 30th. You don't even have to get out of your car. It's going to be a drive-through. 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. That's a really nice big time slot for you to drive through, drop off your drugs. What they will take they will accept pills, patches, ointments, liquids that are tightly sealed, vitamins, supplements, samples, and even pet medications. We'll take all of those. Vape pens or other e-cigarette devices will be accepted after you take the batteries out. So make sure you take the batteries out of those, and then they will take those as well. Items that we can't take, syringes, that's a whole different ballgame. intravenous solutions, and illicit substances. We're not taking any of that stuff. So that will be on April 30th. And I thank Chief Valier and the Westfield Police Department for partnering with us on that. We did it a year and a half ago, and Chief really likes to do it every year. And we had done it fall of 2020. And so it's time. He called me and he said, okay, we're doing another drug take back. And this is national, so it'll be all over the country on Saturday, April 30th. So get ready. And in order to do that, you got to start going through those medicine cabinets and so forth. All right, let's take a break. It is 6:48. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses and WCPC cable channel 15. We're going to listen to Merrill Haggard because this is his 85th birthday. We're going to listen to him singing Okie from Muskogee. We'll be back.
That might not be the right version.
That doesn't sound right, Pete. No, it's very kind of...
Well, there's two versions of it. There must be a remix of it or something.
Yeah, no, don't do the remix.
It's probably this one.
The original. That's... There it is.
We don't smoke marijuana in Muskogee. We don't take our trips on LSD. We don't burn our draft cards down on Main Street. 'Cause we like living right and being free. We don't make a party out of loving, but we like holding hands and pitching woo. We don't let our hair grow long and shaggy like the hippies out in San Francisco do. And I'm proud to be an Okie from Muskogee, a place where even squares can have a ball. We still wave Old Glory down at the courthouse, and white lightning's still the biggest thrill of all. Leather boots are still in style for manly footwear. Beads and Roman sandals won't be seen, and football's still the roughest thing on campus. And the kids here still respect the college dean. And I'm proud to be an Okie from Muskogee, a place where even squares can have a ball. We still wave Old Glory down at the courthouse. White lightning's still the biggest thrill of all. And white lightning's still the biggest thrill of all. In Muskogee, Oklahoma, USA.
Underwriting for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Boys and Girls Club of Greater Westfield, serving the youth of the Whip City and surrounding communities since 1969. For more information on the Great Futures Club for ages 3 to 5, happening weekdays, and the Club Teen Center for ages 11 and older, weekdays from 6:30 till 8 p.m., go online at bcgwestfield.org or visit the club at 28 West Silver Street. The Boys and Girls Club of Greater Westfield. Great futures start here.
This is Ken Stomsky from Ken's Den on WCPC 15 and 89.5 FM, Tuesdays, 8 to 10.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 6:52. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses and WCPC cable channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and I'm in the studio this morning with the chairman of the board, producer Pete Coles. Good morning again, Pete.
Good morning.
All right. So, folks, I have had dozens, probably hundreds of people asking me in the last month or so, when are we going to get to eat inside again at the senior center?
And the answer is?
And the answer is beginning on April 14th, which is a week from tomorrow, you're going to be able to eat inside on Thursdays. We're going to start weekly. I have a feeling, I think that the numbers are going to be good, and so I'm hoping that we'll do Thursdays in April, and I'm hoping that we can expand in May to either another 1 or 2 days a week. There you go. All right, so this is how this is going to work, because if you want to know, how are we going to do this?
Here's the rules.
Here are the rules. So the rules are, you know what, the curbside signups and reservations have gone so well that we're going to follow suit and do it exactly the same way. So what that means is this. Next Thursday, if you want to eat indoors at the Senior Center, you're going to call us between 8:30 and 9:15 in the morning to make your reservation. That's what we do every day for curbside. It's been working really well, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to do that for indoor as well. No reservations will be taken after 9:15, and because that's when I'm going to give the final count to the kitchen and say, make so many meals, and that's how many meals they're going to make.
Yep.
No reservations will be taken via voicemail. You can't call us, at 7:30 in the morning and leave a voicemail and say, put me down for 2 meals. That's not, you have to actually speak with someone. Okay. So you're going to have to actually speak with a staff member. And also we will not be doing walk-ins. You have to have a reservation because, again, that number is going to be given to the kitchen at 9:15 in the morning, which is what we do every day now. So then you can come in. You need to check in if you're going to be having lunch at the Senior Center between 11:30 and 11:50. The cost is $3. You're going to check in. You can certainly be at the Senior Center before that, but you can check in, pay for your meal. You're going to get a little card that says paid, and you're just going to put that at your place setting, wherever you want to sit. We're not doing tickets. It's just a card that says paid, and you're just going to leave that on the table, and that's just so that the staff knows who they're serving. We will begin serving promptly at noontime, so you need to be at your table and seated by noon. Initially, we are going to put 4 chairs to a table, and there's no moving of chairs around. We're just going to keep, give everybody their little space. The tables should be big enough that I think everyone will be comfortable with that.
Yep.
And just please note that the maximum cap for the April indoor congregate dining meals will be fairly low until we can kind of figure out the average attendance for indoor dining. We'll make adjustments as we go along, so don't get discouraged. It's been a long time since we've done indoor dining, so we've got to all kind of get used to, how this is going to work and also what our numbers are going to be. So we're excited to start. I know it'll be interesting to see all those people who have said to me, when can we come in? When can we come in? Are they actually going to come in? Because I had a lot of that last summer, and then we ended up with, 20 people. So we'll see where we go with that.
I don't think people were ready back then.
I agree with you, Pete. I agree with you, Pete, and I told the staff that. I said, I think very quickly we'll be up to speed with, kind of where we were before. So we anticipate adding days right out of the gate in May. So I think that's what's going to happen. We'll see. To be determined. We'll let you know. I'll report back.
If the demand is there, the supply will increase.
That's exactly it. You got it. That's what's going to happen. A reminder that we have nursing services now at the Senior Center. Evelyn Bristol is the RN. She's a gift from the Public Health Department. Thank you, Joe Rouse. We love having Evelyn at the Senior Center. She's been amazing. We've been keeping her really busy. She's got some of her regulars now. She has people coming in on a regular basis. If you would like to see Evelyn, though, please call and make an appointment, 562-6435. It's very likely that she can see you that day if you call in the morning, but she is still she's out and about, and she's doing some home visits and some things for the health department. So, I don't want you to come down and she's not there and she's gone for a couple hours, because that's fairly typical of her schedule. So just call ahead of time. We'll patch you through to her phone, and you can set up an appointment with her. We're excited. We're going to be starting a writing group at the Senior Center. Thank you to Donna Herman, who's starting that group. We already have people signing up, and we're really excited about that. It will be held weekly on Mondays from 1:30 to 3 o'clock, beginning on April 25th. The group size is limited, so if you're interested in this, please call us, as soon as possible and get your name on the list. It's called My Life Stories. You're going to write about yourself, and obviously you know yourself well. No writing experience is necessary. You're just going to write a little bit each week, and you're going to share your writing with the group. And there are only 2 guidelines: no criticism, unless you ask for it, and corrections are permitted only upon request. So creativity is encouraged, and it's really just going to be a time to do some sharing and just enjoy the company of others through writing, listening, and conversation. And we thank Donna Herman for coming to us and saying that, how about this idea? And I'm willing to do that, so we're excited about it. Also, speaking of that, our chess players, I got to find my little sheet here because they made up their own flyer. Here we go. Chess players. Well, they have chess players needed. It kind of surprised Mary Lou and me because there are a number of them in there. So, but apparently they're looking for more players. So if anyone is interested in joining Chess with Les on Wednesdays from 1 to 3, it's free. Easy lessons will be tailored to your abilities and goals. Experienced players can always enjoy a friendly game and helpful advice. And if you are new to the game, they'll teach you how to play. I absolutely love the chess players. They're just great. It's a really nice group. They meet down in the Creativity Center where it's nice and quiet down there because it's kind of a quiet game. But if you're interested, come on over. They'll be meeting this afternoon from 1 to 3 if you just want to check it out. I think right now all of the players are male, but it certainly is not. We don't discriminate. Women are perfectly welcome to join the chess group, and I'm sure they would love to have you. So come on down. Les Hutton has been teaching chess and overseeing it both in the schools as well as at the senior center for many years. I mean, I think Les has been doing it with us since we were at the old senior center. So, and Wes he's a retired Westfield State professor.
Oh, cool.
I think he taught in the history department. So yeah, come on down for that. And we are trying to start a Mexican trained dominoes group. I have a woman who's really interested in this. Joyce Peregrine said she plays, and she knows somebody who's interested as well. So if you are interested in learning the game, or if you're interested in playing the game, we don't have a set day or time. We're just getting names and phone numbers of people who might be interested, and then we'll figure out when we're gonna, I'm sure they'll meet on a weekly basis. But if you're interested in Mexican trained dominoes, which it sounds like a really kind of fun game. And we have the game. We purchased it a few years ago. Give us a call. You're going to talk to Mary Lou, and she'll put your name on the list. And if we can get, 3 or 4 or 5 people together, then we can start a little group going with that. So that's all that. It is 7 o'clock. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses and WCPC Cable Channel 15. We'll take our top of the hour break and be back.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Dunkin' Donuts shops of Westfield and the Sardinia family. It's nice to know that even as the world changes, Dunkin' Coffee remains the same at 7 convenient locations throughout Westfield.
Saturdays were made for polka. Tune in to the Polka Jammer Network starting at 6 a.m. and Polka Hall of Famer Billy Bellina, Breakfast at BB at 8:30.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 7:04. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC cable channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and I'm busy here looking for. I have one more.
I got a feel for you.
Okay, go ahead.
I just read an article. Been kind of browsing articles in the breaks and stuff, and Elon Musk has Starlink, which is his satellite internet service.
Yep.
And Amazon is going to launch their own. And they've hired every rocket launch company but SpaceX, which I find funny.
Okay.
Because he doesn't need the business, really, because their backlog is huge. But they've hired Ariane Space, which is the launcher that European Space Agency set up. They've hired their own company, Blue Origin, and they've hired United Launch Alliance. And the funny part is I don't think... With all three of those, I don't think they can ever catch up to SpaceX.
Well, it'll be we'll see, right? To be determined.
That's the competition by the billionaires in space. But did you hear that Elon Musk bought 9% of Twitter and now is their biggest shareholder?
I did. I heard all about it on NPR 2 days ago.
Did you hear why it resulted though? He put out a poll a couple of weeks ago.
Yep.
Saying this will have consequences, and the speculation was he was going to start his own service or buy a smaller one and build it out.
Right.
He just decided to go to the source.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I know. Right. They thought he was going to do his own.
Yeah.
So, interesting guy, Pete.
Listen, he sticks to his guns.
Well, he puts his money where his mouth is. That's for sure. And he's got a lot of money to put where his mouth is.
Right.
So, yeah.
And he lives in abject poverty. Believe it or not, I've seen his house.
Really?
Oh yeah. Oh God.
No
yeah.
kidding.
He sold all his houses in California when he moved to Boca Chica, and bought one of the little houses out there that are like single family ranches.
Yeah.
And they don't have like running water service. They have water tanks outside the houses.
Oh my God. Well, I have to
like
say,
this is a little village.
I'm kind of impressed about that.
His girlfriend that he's got the two kids with, the two babies, she said she couldn't live there anymore because it was like he lives he basically lives on the poverty level.
Yeah. Wow. How old is he, Pete?
Mid to late 40s, I think.
Oh, okay. He's younger than I thought. I thought he was like 50s, 60s. Okay,
no.
so he's a young guy.
And he works. And I know for a fact that he works because one of our custodians here, his son was working for him, but went back to school to get his full airframe and power plant license. But he said you see him at the shop all the time.
Okay. Well, more power to him.
Yeah.
All right. Let's. We have a bunch going on, and we have Dr. Gorman who will be joining us shortly. So
he's in the bullpen.
He's in the bullpen. All right. Let's do our last birthday. It is the birthday of John Ratzenberger, actor born on this day in 1947 in Bridgeport, Connecticut. I did not know that. He's 75 years old today. John Ratzenberger is an American actor, voice actor, and filmmaker. He's one of the most successful actors of all times in terms of box office receipts. Ratzenberger began his entertainment career while living in London in the 1970s. He had minor film and television roles throughout the late 70s and early 1980s before creating and then landing the role of the know-it-all mailman Cliff Clavin on Cheers, which ran from 1982 to 1993, a role that Ratzenberger portrayed throughout the show's 11 seasons. Ratzenberger had read for the part of Norm Peterson, but after the audition, he realized that they were not going to give him the part. So, sensing an opportunity, I love this. I mean, this is such a great story. Sensing an opportunity, he asked if they had written a bar know-it-all part, which the producers decided was a great idea because they hadn't, and they thought, that's a great idea. Ratzenberger also came up with the idea for Cliff's trademark white socks. Cliff became known for his outlandish stories of plausible half-truths, uninteresting trivia and misinformation, and in general for being a pretentious blowhard. Cliff and Norm, the primary customer characters, became iconic bar buddies. Ratzenberger's first Pixar role was the voice of Ham in Toy Story. That was back in 1995. And he voiced Pixar characters in every film and video game until 2020. From 2004 to 2008, he hosted the television documentary series Made in America.
Yep.
Outside of acting, John Ratzenberger has promoted American entrepreneurship and manufacturing and campaigned for several Republican candidates. So happy birthday to John Ratzenberger, better known to us as Cliff Clavin from Cheers. All right, couple more announcements before we do a little music here. And I just want to, I've actually just two more announcements or three, I lied. One is, if you have not tuned in to Westfield Council on Aging Presents for this month, please do. It's called Navigating Senior Living Options. Harry Rock is the host of that show. That's done on behalf of the Senior Center. Pete, of course, is the producer. It's aired Tuesdays on Channel 15 at 2:45 throughout the month.
And usually Thursdays, too.
And Pete usually sneaks it in on Thursdays. But I've been listening to it while I do my exercises. I've actually listened to the YouTube version. It's also on Pete's bundle. But Harry interviewed Eric Asheim from Oasis Senior Advisors of Western Massachusetts. We have referred a lot of families, older adults and families, to Eric. When they get to that point where they're thinking maybe assisted living, maybe a senior community, not really sure what are the finances all about, why, what would happen with me selling my house, downsizing, whatever. And he is really amazing at walking people through that process. He will, meet with them. If you want to go visit some senior living facilities, he will go with you, kind of hold your hand. So he's like Jen Fernandez is, with the Thrive program. She'll hold your hand at the bank. Well, Eric is like that with housing. So if you have not tuned in, I would really suggest that you do so. It's a great program. And thank you to Harry Rock and to Pete for doing that. We're excited about some upcoming programs that we have as well, but I'm not going to say who's going to be on next month, but I'm pretty excited. Also, just as a reminder, because we're coming up on this quickly, Saturday, April 23rd is Document Shred Day. So that's through CSF Westfield. It's a fundraiser for them. It's $5 a box. People have been asking Sandra at the front desk, my greeter, how big a box? Well, you got to be able to lift it. So, kind of a sort of an average size. We're saying about the size of a recycle bin box full of documents. So this is the time to get rid of those documents with any kind of personal information on it. They will be in the Senior Center parking lot April 23rd, which is a Saturday, from 9 to 11 a.m. or until the truck is full. Please, no early birds. It takes them some time to set up, and they'll kind of weave you through the parking lot. This is not their first rodeo. You are going to stay in your car. So their guidelines, now they have you wearing a face mask. I'm not sure if they're still requiring that, but at least have one in your car in case they are. You remain in your vehicle at all times. All of your the material for shredding has to be accessible in the trunk, in the truck bed, or a cargo area if you have an SUV in the back. Please pay with the exact amount. It's $5 a box, and that money goes to CSF. They do use that for scholarships. And please, if you are sick, just like we keep telling people, if you are sick or you're awaiting COVID test results, please don't attend the shredding event. We don't want anyone else getting sick. So that's that. And a reminder, next Wednesday is Brown Bag Day. So that is on
Quick
the 15th.
Programming note before you go to the break.
Yep.
After the Whiskey Traveler today.
Yep.
At 3:15, we're going to run the Westfield High School Pops concert.
Oh, nice.
Which is all about space. It's about 2 hours long, so you'll have music all afternoon on Channel 15.
Oh, that is perfect. Thank you so much, Pete. And thank you for announcing that.
Yeah.
All right. We have Dr. Gary Gorman in the bullpen. So we're going to bring him in. We're going to take our 7:10 break. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses and WCPC cable channel 15. We're going to listen to the Cheers theme song in honor of the birthday of John Ratzenberger.
By Gary Portnoy, a one-hit wonder.
Yeah, perfect. We'll be back.
Making your way in the takes everything you've got. Taking a break from all your worries sure would help a lot. Wouldn't you like to get away? All those nights when you've got no lights, the check is in the mail, and your little angel hung the cat up by its tail, and your third fiancé didn't show. Sometimes you wanna go where everybody knows your name, and they're always glad you came. You wanna be where you can see our troubles are all the same. You wanna be where everybody knows your name. Roll out of bed, Mr. Coffee's dead. The morning's looking bright. And your shrink ran off to Europe and didn't even write. And your husband wants to be a girl. Be glad there's one place in the world where everybody knows your name, and they're always glad you came. You wanna go where people know people are all the same. You wanna go where everybody knows your name. Where everybody knows your name, and they're always glad you came. Where everybody knows your name, and they're always glad you came. Where everybody knows your name.
Support for community radio on WSKB is provided by Betts Plumbing and Heating Supply Company, an independent, family-owned wholesaler serving Westfield for over 50 years, specializing in plumbing, heating, and industrial piping supplies. On the web at bettsplumbing.com or at 14 Coleman Avenue in Westfield.
Join us the third Wednesday of every month with Selectman Joe Didi and his take on everything Southwick.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 7:16. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses and WCPC Cable Channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host on this rainy Wednesday morning. In the studio with me is the chairman of the board, producer Pete Coles. And on the phone, because it is the first Wednesday of the month, is Dr. Gary Gorman, chiropractor with Strength for Life in East Hampton. Good morning, Dr. Gorman.
Well, good morning, Mrs. Gorman. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing just fine. You know, I have not listened to the lyrics of that song very carefully until you just played it. Quite an interesting set of lyrics,
don't you think?
I say so myself.
It was hysterical because I could hear Pete from where I am on my side of the glass over there chuckling at the lyrics. You're right, Gary. You know, it's just one of those, we just heard the song when we watched the show and you're not really paying attention. But
when was that song actually written? Was it a long time ago?
Well, the show ran, now let me see, because I just packed this stuff up, but the show ran from let's see, when was it? Hold on, I'm going to tell you. The show ran from 82 to 93, so that song had to have been written in the early 80s.
Well, it's very interesting that with the one line about my husband wants to be a girl. Well,
yep.
That, you know what? In today's day and age,
I know, right?
That's going on.
Yeah.
Wow. Back then you would have. What
yes.
are you talking about? But
right.
now it's really, much more common. Nobody takes pause. You
yes,
know?
Exactly. And it's really funny because a lot of, we also listened to the song Okie from Muskogee, which was written and sung by Merrill Haggard back in the 70s, and he talks about the hippies and, how they, the Okies from Muskogee, we still wave Old Glory and, at the courthouse and all this. And it's very timely for what was happening, as opposed to those hippies in San Francisco. And, if you really listen to the lyrics to a lot of these songs, it's really interesting. It's very interesting.
Yeah, they're time-stamped, yeah.
They are time-stamped, Gary. You're absolutely right. Things that would raise eyebrows 20 or 30 or 40 years ago really don't raise eyebrows anymore. It's like, okay, what's the big deal? So, so Gary, before we get into our topics of the day, because we've got some national days that I haven't talked about yet because I wanted to do so when you were on air. But Pete and I were talking before that April is National Internship Awareness Month. And, we were kind of talking about the importance of internships and getting that, get that foot in the door and getting some real life work experience. And I was sharing Grace's internship at, the animal hospital right now. And, one of the things that I didn't say, and Pete had kind of alluded to it, and I didn't have time to follow up on it. But, one of the things about any internship is when you have a student who's enthusiastic about trying new things out in the field. I mean, Gary, we've supervised interns before, and you have some interns that are willing to do anything, try anything, kind of step out of their comfort zone. And then you have other interns that really, are much more reserved about that and really want to be told exactly what to do, and they're afraid to make a mistake. And, one of the things I think one of the reasons that Grace is so successful right now at her internship is she will try anything. She will see anything. If there's a new case of, some animal with some, weird thing. They had a raccoon that they brought in for because they were afraid it had rabies, and it turns out it did. She wanted to be in on that. What do you do? How do we find that out? She's now apparently the only employee who's sporting a case of ringworm because somebody brought a cat in last week. But again, she's not afraid to try it and say, okay, well, we'll deal with the consequences, because when I get out there and I do this for a living, this stuff's going to happen. So I'm really proud of her for that.
Yeah, I think she's doing a great job.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so that is National Internship Awareness Month. We'll have a song related to that a little bit later in the show. So, Dr. Gorman, it is April 6th is both national, well, it's a lot of different national days, but the two that I thought were particularly pertinent to you and the topic, today is National Walking Day, and it is also National Student Athlete Day. So I'm going to start with the National Student Athlete Day. I'm going to say a few words, and then I'm going to turn it over to you because I have a lot of questions for you. So National Student Athlete Day provides an opportunity to recognize the outstanding accomplishments of student athletes. And National Student Athlete Day was created by National Consortium for Academics and Sports to honor high school and college student athletes who have excelled in academics and athletics and who have contributed to their communities and schools in a significant way. The program seeks to encourage families, schools, and communities to support their student athletes in their endeavors. So I decided that this would be a great topic for you. A, because you were a student athlete and participated in sports really throughout your, definitely high school, college, but even before that. And currently you are coaching the girls, you are assistant coach with the East Longmeadow High School girls track team and have been doing that for quite a while. And prior to that, you were assistant coach at Holyoke Catholic and volunteering your efforts there with the girls track program. But you've also done other coaching. You've coached for a while in West Springfield. That was many years ago. So you've kind of been the student athlete, you've been the coach, but you've also been the parent of a student athlete. Right. So I think you've got a really great, diverse background, Gary, in order to give us some perspective. And of course, in your professional career as a chiropractor, you treat student athletes. So there's a lot that we can sort of cover here. And as wonderful as athletics and sports can be, there are also some things to consider just in terms of safety, both physically and there's, sort of emotionally and psychologically. So let's start, Gar, with at what age do you think students should begin playing organized sports? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, you know what? I really think that they could really start at a really young basis. When they're up and running around 3-4 years old, I think there's a couple things that you need to consider here. One is what sports are you talking about, and what are the risks? So there's a reward-risk ratio when you make a decision on when you want to engage your young child into an athletic of some organized group. I think today we tend to spend way too much time putting our smartphone in front of our 2-year-old's lap and have them entertain themselves while as a babysitting service. So they may not be as active as they would like because they're sitting in front of a little screen, entertaining themselves.
Yep.
I think that's one area to consider. But two, really, what we actually did, I think, was right, and we were ahead of the curve. We got Grace involved with things more for generalized movement and coordination.
Yeah.
She went to Tim Daggett's gymnastics, but that was more for, she was like 4 years old. We knew she wasn't going to be a gymnast, but it helped her with coordination and balance and movement. And the tumbling ballet class. Well, again, she wasn't going to be a ballet dancer or a gymnast, but it helped her just develop her motor skills, her coordination, socialization with other young children, because sometimes it's preschool age. And I think the key is if you could do a parentectomy and pull the parents out of the fold and let the kids be kids and do what they want to do, is just really have fun.
It's interesting, Gary. I had kind of forgotten about Grace's beginnings with movement. And actually, prior to both of those experiences, both the ballet and the gymnastics, she and I had done kind of a mommy daughter, movement class at a local dance studio. And it was really just fun, and it was movement. And there were, I don't know, maybe 8 children, and they were both boys and girls with a mom. And, it was like a half-hour thing. And I met some great moms there. But, the other thing, she was, I think, only 2.5 when we did that. And, no pressure. It's not an organized sport. It's just as you said, Gary, to get her up and moving. When she was 3 and she took some dance lessons with her best friend. But that was very interesting because it was a combination. They would do ballet for like 15 minutes, and then they would do tumbling for like 15 minutes. And Grace very quickly, at the ripe old age of 3.5, decided she really did not care for ballet at all. And there was a window where the parents could watch their child, doing the rehearsals. And so Grace would, so ballet was the first half, and then they would bring out the tumbling mats. And I can distinctly remember Grace and her best friend, Kara was totally into the whole thing. So she would do the whole ballet, and her mom, Debbie, and I would be out there. Grace, after about the 3rd week, I think, decided she didn't like ballet, so she would watch the ballet portion with me. I tried to encourage her a few times, but, I didn't push it. But then as soon as she saw those tumbling mats, boom, she was in there like a shot. She loved that. And that's why we ended up the next go round just going over to, Tim Daggett's with gymnastics, because we thought, okay, again, not that I ever anticipated her being, a gymnast, but it's like she enjoyed the tumbling, and she, it's just kind of, for her, it was kind of roughhousing. So I think to your point, Gar, it's not so much putting the pressure on, expecting that she's going to be a ballerina when she turns 16 or something. It was like, okay, you're moving around. You didn't like that, but you did like that. And it helped us to be able to say, oh, okay, well, she seems to have an interest in, running and jumping and tumbling and using mats and climbing ropes and that kind of stuff. So I think good point, Gare, that was, and I think you're right. When Grace was younger, of course, we didn't have smartphones back then because that was 31 years ago. But certainly in this day and age, you see that a lot. You see parents, sometimes out of necessity, but, kind of using that. So anything that gets your children up and moving.
I think getting them out, getting them moving, getting them socializing with other young children, and interacting and learning at a very young age, teamwork and team approach and sharing and these kind of activities. Those are the hidden messages that will come out, not necessarily in the description of what they're doing, and expose them to a lot of different things. And you'll know pretty quickly if they liked it or they don't. So when they're moving older, getting into a little bit older organized activities, then as a parent, you're going to know which activities that they're going to want to focus in on and which ones they're probably not going to be interested in moving forward. So I think that's healthy.
Yep. Did you do that yourself, Gare, when you were growing up? Did you do sports or?
I started bowling at a very young age.
Okay.
I just really enjoyed that. And I started playing baseball in 3rd grade. There was nothing more earlier than that. I started playing football in 5th grade, baseball 3rd grade, football 5th grade, bowling, and then I kind of went from there, as we got older. But at that, parents, I don't believe that there was a lot of recreation activities for very young kids. We would go out in the yard and play. I mean, we didn't have to have organized stuff because we were out from the sundown to sun up to sundown and playing in our own yard with the neighborhood kids, So, I mean, we didn't have, it was, the culture was totally different back in the 50s and 60s than it is now.
Yeah, I agree with you, Gare. I was thinking the exact same thing. You're right. My mom was generally, more or less a stay-at-home mom. She did some part-time work, and I know your mom was working for the phone company, I think even when you were small, but there was opportunity, there was adult supervision, and I think you're right, Gare. People, the kids just went out and played in the yard, they played in the street, they, played in the local park. And that's how you determined, I don't like baseball, but I like kickball, and, that means maybe I'll like soccer,
Yeah.
Would you say?
I remember running through my neighbor's yard, and the father stopped me and said, I think you'd be interested in playing football. Would you do that? My father never said to me, Gary, let's sign you up for football.
Yeah.
And so I came running up the street and said, Dad, Mr. Eberling thinks I would really enjoy and like playing football, so can I sign up for football? So, it was a neighborhood father that looked at me in the neighborhood playing around and thought that would be a good match for me. So, you never know.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think fun, at an early age, it's fun. That's really has to be critical.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Gary. And you're right. The parentectomy sometimes is the way to go. Just no pressure, folks. Just let's just see what we do. So, Gary, let's talk a little bit about student athletes and how to, put on your chiropractic hat now, and your coaching hat. So how can student athletes avoid injuries? Things like pulled muscles, things like dehydration. Of course, there's a lot of concern right now about concussions. Last month was Brain Injury Awareness Month, and we talked about concussions a little bit on this show. So how do you, you coach, girls, women's track, girls track and field. How do you avoid those kinds of things? How can parents kind of prepare their athletes and coaches prepare their athletes?
Well, it really is up to the coaches to do that. It's our responsibility to make sure that our athletes are warmed up properly. And interesting enough, we were watching, as we were finishing practice, we were watching the lacrosse team that comes on after us, and they have to hire out a trainer to warm up their athletes because those coaches do not have a training background in it. And they're doing a lot of the warm-up drills that we do inherently is part of our sport.
Mm-hmm.
So warming up is really critical. Hydration, we make sure our kids hydrate. We talk about nutrition, not to any great extent, but we try to encourage our children our athletes, our student athletes, to make sure that they get a proper rest and proper hydration, and just to warm up and stretch. And oftentimes we will engage them in a yoga class on our off days during certain parts of the year, and that's our responsibility. And their responsibility is to come to us if they overdid something or if they're not feeling good. And we have a trainer, which today's day and age, it's really nice to have a trainer. When I was competing in high school, our coaches were our trainers, basically.
Yeah.
You know what? And, it becomes there are certainly challenges involved with it. I'm dealing with an adolescent population that are going through growth spurts. They're going through sitting in class all day. You don't know what's going on in their head, and sometimes you're not sure as to whether or not their injuries are, I'm out of shape, I'm deconditioned, and this is a little bit of an excuse not to go the extra mile, or they really, we have to take it for face value and treat it as if it is an injury. For me, which is kind of nice, dealing with this all day long in my practice, I'm able to handle a lot of it, but I will always defer to Diane, saying, here's what I think's going on, here's what I think you need to do, but I'm off duty, so why don't you bounce this off of Diane to see what she says. And I have a great relationship with our athletic trainer, so that she trusts my judgment, and she almost, I'm not sure if I remember a case that she disagreed with what I suggested. So that works out well. But I think really, again, it's preparation. Not doing too much too soon. We're relatively early in our season.
Right.
We had a big meet on Monday. And so yesterday was really pretty much of a down day. They did a warm up. We got the pole vault pits in the pole vault area all in order. So we had about 20 girls helping us there, and we had some girls running a nice, easy 3 miles on the cross country course just to shake off the little tweaks from the day before. So, it was just a very light day, and we'll start back in today to get ready for next Monday. So I think in large part at that age, it's the coach's responsibility more than anything. Now, with that said, what we need to be careful of, we have an occasional athlete that their parents become overzealous and they're going to be the next professional athlete, and that they engage in a personal trainer or a personal coach, and they're working our athletes out off practice times and burning them out in essence. And we need to know that as coaches, because we need to tailor our workouts a little bit around what they're doing, because we're very cognizant of proper rest and recovery time. And when we don't want our athletes working, track and field on Monday through Friday and then playing indoor soccer or on a travel soccer team Saturday and Sunday. It just gets to be too much, and something's got to give. By rights, the rules are that if a student is engaged in a high school sport, the MIAA rules are Massachusetts Institute of Athletic MIAA, the Athletic Association for the state, the governing body. They basically say that the high school sport takes precedence over any off-season club sport. I just ran into a baseball player who I had for indoor soccer, and I said, how'd you do for tryouts? He said, well, I did okay. I made the JV team. And I said, well, were you happy about that? And he says, yes, but he said, I'm going to have to give up baseball because it's going to interfere. I can't make the practices because of my spring soccer program, and that's his priority. So he'll have to give up his high school baseball team in order to focus in on another sport. So that happens.
So, and that kind of leads me to my next question, Dr. Gorman, which is how much time student athletes should devote to their sport. I mean, what do you think? If, there are 7 days in the week. Should they be doing something 7 days? And I don't necessarily mean, they're, practicing their sport, whether it's football, baseball, soccer, basketball, whatever, 7 days a week. But should they be active 7 days a week? Or do you recommend kind of a day of rest in there? Or what are your thoughts on that?
Well, you know what? Different sports have different demands that are put on the body, and we need to keep in mind, as you had mentioned earlier, they are student athletes. So a certain amount of their day is sitting and studying. So I feel that, again, going into adult life, balance is the key, and we want to balance everything. So I feel it is healthy to a degree that they do something every day. Now, what does that mean? That means on a Sunday when they're on their own time, what we'll feel that they could do, it's homework time, it's rest time, but they could do some stretching. They could go for a walk. They could do something non-competitive, but get up and move around to offset 3 or 4 hours of sitting and studying or on their computer, whatever, gaming or whatever else these kids do that I have no idea what they do. So again, balance is the key to that, and overworking them would be the scenario that I mentioned earlier, in that they're on a high school team and they're doing club sports on weekends, or oh my God, they're at our practice from 2 to 4, and then they have to go to a night soccer game, and then they have to go home and try to get their homework done. It's too much. It's just that's too much, and the parents need to know that that's too much, and the decision needs to be made. Choose one or the other.
Okay.
And as much as I would rather lose one of our athletes to another sport rather than that athlete being injured. And you know what? We go through this, for example. We have a lot of our young athletes that will come out for indoor soccer because they don't do indoor track, because they don't do an indoor sport. They don't swim or they don't play basketball, but they're getting ready for lacrosse in the spring or baseball in the spring with some of the boys. And so, as much as I tell them, look at, and I kid them, I say, look at, I'm gonna really miss you in the spring.
Yeah.
But I am certainly supporting you, and I wish you the best in your spring sport. They need to know they're making decisions based on what they have at the time, and they need to know that they have support and they're not disappointing the adults that they came to know. And there's a whole psychological profile to that. And I'm saying, look, I'm going to miss you in spring track. I think you would have great potential, but I am certainly rooting you on for a great baseball season or a lacrosse season or whatever. So,
and I think the other thing to remember, especially about high school students, Gara, is that they're high school kids. And sometimes I think the decision on what team they want to be, it depends. Well, what's my best friend doing? What are my friends doing? All my friends are going out for baseball, and I may be a great runner, or I may be a great jumper or pole vaulter, but I want to be with my friends playing baseball. I mean, they're in high school, they're not professional athletes. So, I think you're right, Gara. There's the psychological component. There's the emotional component. And I think always in high school and college, you can't lose sight of the fact that these are student athletes. The word student comes first, and athlete comes second.
It should be academic athlete,
Yes.
Because student athlete, you could take that title out of character. Student implies academics. That's what they mean by student. You know what? That gets lost in the shuffle a little bit. You're a student athlete. Well, yeah, they're a student and they're an athlete. Well, the implication of being a student is grades and studies come first. Absolutely. And we are I can't speak for all sports. I can't speak for all coaches, but I know the coaches that I work with in track and field. Academics is the number one priority. If you have to stay after school for extra help, if you have an AP exam, if you're doing this, you do that first. Then you come out and we'll work something out afterwards. So that's really the key. Absolutely. And that's no doubt about it, because you know what? At the end of the day, I love that NCAA commercial during college sports, and it's something like there are 8,000 student athletes in college, and 0.5% of them go on to professional ranks. And they show all these college athletes who competed in college, kept their academics up, and they show all these different fields of areas of expertise and professions that they chose to go into, as opposed to being in athletics.
Right.
So
because we know that all of these high school athletes who go to college are not all going to be great college athletes, and we know that college athletes who all think they're going to get into the professionals are, it's a minuscule number, really. So those academics are very important.
Parents tend to be myopic. And that means that they're nearsighted. They just look only at their house or at their community, and then sometimes coaches become myopic because they may be the kingpins of Western Massachusetts, but they need to spread their vision out a little bit broader. You know what? I use this expression: you may be local fast, but are you state fast or are you national fast?
Right.
Or, it really. I often used to use the expression as there are 10,000 girls in South Carolina or North Carolina or Texas or Florida that play soccer all year round that are better than any one of you up here in Massachusetts. So be real about it. If you really want to get aid in college, keep your grades up. And if you are an athlete going to college, you may not get an athletic scholarship, but if a coach wants you enough, lo and behold, you'll get some sort of an academic grant to do something, but it's not for athletics. It's going to be for academics, and it happens.
So, Gary, that actually brings me to my last question, which you've kind of touched on. I know this is a topic that's really near and dear to your heart, but before we wrap up this discussion on student athletes and Student Athlete Awareness Day and take a break and then get into our next topic, I just want to ask you this question. Is it better for middle school and high school student athletes to play different sports, or is it better for them to master one sport in order to potentially earn a college scholarship? And I know you've kind of touched on this, but even if it's not the potential to earn a college scholarship, what are your thoughts about playing different sports versus kind of mastering one?
Yeah, I'm really a big advocate on multiple sports, at least in middle school and the first 2 or 3 years of high school. I think that is important for a number of reasons, one of which is it helps to cut down on repetitive overuse syndromes of using the same movement patterns, the same body parts all year round. On a sidebar, I believe we have to blame the Portuguese on this one, and I'm saying that because back in I read a book called Raising Our Athletic Daughters. Mm-hmm. And when they did the authors did some research, they found out back in the 70s, the Portuguese, when they really started to settle in the States here, they were saying, well, why is soccer just in the fall? Well, in Portugal, you play soccer all year round. So then they started to develop these field clubs, and then they started to find venues for indoors, and then they started to play spring soccer. So you had a young athlete who was interested in our traditional fall soccer season gets sucked into this indoor spring soccer program. Then all of a sudden you started saying baseball going, oh, wait a minute now. If soccer's doing it, we're going to have fall ball, we're going to have indoor batting cages, we're going to have outdoor. And football's going to start going, well, wait a minute now. If baseball and soccer are doing it, so you could see, I don't want to I don't want to flog this any further, but the point being is that from my perspective and from Sue Geyer, who now is the dean of one of the departments at Springfield College, when Sue and I did a presentation when Grace was in St. Thomas, Sue said she used to get a lot of her athletes at Springfield College, and they had to redshirt their freshman year because they were so beat up from high school doing the same sport over and over again that they were wearing out their body parts, for crying out loud, before they even got to college to play. And that's a Division III school where there's no athletic scholarship. So I feel that, and now from my perspective, I'm in a little bit of a different situation because in our world, it would be cross country indoor track and outdoor track.
Mm-hmm.
And I would not have a problem with our. I like indoor and outdoor track to be paired off as like one long season because the seasons are pretty broken up and they're relatively short. I would have no problem with any of our girls playing a fall sport and then coming into indoor and outdoor season.
Mm-hmm.
A classic case is one of my former athletes. Her name is Ashley Corcoran. I'll give her a shout out. Ashley played 4 years of high school soccer at East Long Meadow. She did indoor and outdoor seasons. Never was injured ever for her 4 years in high school. She went on to college at Southern New Hampshire, started running cross country for her first year because she never did it in high school.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was her junior year. She was an All-American cross-country runner. She's a phenomenal indoor and outdoor track runner, and she never did cross-country. So it's never too late, and you don't. And what I found, I thought that worked to Ashley's advantage, and I think this is an important point because for Ashley, cross-country was a new sport. It was not something that she did since fourth grade, and she was burnt out from it by the time she got to college. This was a totally new challenge for her that dovetailed into something phenomenal that transcended into indoor and outdoor track. So
yeah, I think the other thing too, Gareth, I just want to finish because we're going to take a break, but and then get into National Walking Day, which it is also today.
Okay.
But just to end this one note, and this is a personal story, and I'm sure you'll remember this. When Grace was younger, she was playing soccer, but she also played basketball, and she pretty much tried everything at one point or another. 1 year, she played fall soccer, which is when you typically play soccer. She did not want to do indoor soccer. She had done it in the past. She didn't particularly love it, and she loved basketball. So she was playing basketball for CYO, and I think that might have been a year she was playing suburban basketball as well, 2 teams. Yeah. And in the spring, she went back to soccer to do spring soccer outdoors. I remember she had a phenomenal season, and her soccer coach said to us, "Oh my God, what the heck did Grace do all winter?" Because she just came back guns blazing. She was doing so well on the soccer field. And he, of course, hadn't seen her for indoor soccer because she didn't play. And he was like, what did she do? She's so good. And you and I said, yep, that's because she played basketball. It had nothing to do with soccer. It was just a totally different sport using totally different muscles and memory and balance and all of these other things that she needed for basketball and all of that kind of, transferable skills. And she was excited to be back on a soccer field because, it was outside and she loved the outdoors and so forth. So I think it really, I think we've always said innately she kind of knew what to do and when to do it.
Yes.
So, all right, we're going to wrap this up. We are going to take a break. It is 7:50. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses and WCPC cable channel 15. It is National Walking Day, so we are going to listen to, in honor of that, Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons singing Walk Like a Man. And when we come back, we're going to talk to Dr. Gorman briefly about starting your own walking program.
Oh, how you tried.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Dunkin' Donut Shops of Westfield and the Sardinia family. It's nice to know that even as the world changes, Dunkin' Coffee remains the same at 7 convenient locations throughout Westfield.
Join us the third Wednesday of every month with Selectman Joe Didi and his take on everything Southwick.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 7:53. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC Cable Channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and I have Dr. Gary Gorman, a chiropractor with Strength for Life in East Hampton, on the line. Good morning again, Dr. Gorman.
Well, good morning.
So it is.
We
We have covered a lot. So today is Student Athlete Day, National Student Athlete Day, and today is also National Walking Day, and that falls on the first Wednesday in April. So we've talked about this other April, the first Wednesday of April in other years. So let's switch gears, Dr. Gorman. So we're going to go from student athletes. I'd like for you to talk about some of the steps that an adult or an older adult should take in order to begin a safe and healthy walking program. Where would somebody start with that?
Well, you know what? Safety is really the first and foremost. Safety meaning where you're walking and what kind of surfaces that you're walking on, because you want to avoid injuries. Either it's going to be falls or any kind of pedestrian accidents with automobiles, and walking shoes. So I think the first thing is to go to your local store. In Westfield, you have Fast Feet in Westfield.
We do.
And you walk in there and just say, look, I want to start a walking program. I'd like to get a good pair of walking shoes.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably first and foremost. They're reasonably priced. They're not any more expensive than your box stores, and folks that work in these areas really know much more about the product. So that's first and foremost.
Okay.
Then you decide on where I'm going to walk. Okay, so I think, you have so many hidden gems in Westfield. For example, Stanley Park is a great place to walk because there's no real traffic. There's depending on your level of conditioning, your level of health, if you're a relatively younger, older adult, 60s, for example, and you don't have any restrictions to do anything, the sky's the limit of where you could walk. You could hike. You could, you could walk on the trails down near the river in the back there where the road races or the trail races are.
Yep.
But as you age and if you start to develop balance issues, you're a little bit, you don't have quite the confidence when you're walking on uneven terrain, then you want to choose areas that are flat. For example, oftentimes the local high school tracks are open for walkers, so you could just drive there and walk the track. Is it boring? Little more so than hiking Mount Tom or going to Stanley Park, but yet it's safe. And you're not too far away from your car, because I know you're going to transcend into how far do I walk? Well, that's an open-ended to begin with. But when you're walking on a track or when you're walking around an area that's safe, like for example, my sister lives in the Arbor, so when we go for walks together, we walk from the Arbors. We will walk down the street to the center and around, and we turn around and come back. We're never too far away where my sister can't make it back, and it's a comfortable. And we will.
Yep.
I try to extend that a little bit each time we go for our walk. So you initially stay close to your home. If you live in a residential area, do maybe walk down to the end of the street and back. If there's sidewalks, that's perfect. Make sure you look at the condition of the sidewalks, know where the cracks are or not. Sometimes you can walk on the tree belt between the road and the sidewalk if the roots of trees are heaving up the sidewalk. So really do some scouting on the surfaces that you're walking on. Ashley Reservoir, Whiting Reservoir, there's a lot of places that you could go that there's no automobiles, and they're great surfaces to be walking. So.
Well, you know what? I think too, Gare, I love the fact that you started with Stanley Park, because I think Stanley Park really offers all levels. If you are just starting out, go walk the Rose Garden. It's absolutely beautiful. It's flat. There are paths there. There are, restrooms there. I mean, you really can't beat it. And the parking lot is not that far. So to your point, Gary, kind of not be, because you don't want to walk out so far and then think, oh my gosh, and that's happened. That's happened to people. It's like, oh my gosh, I felt so good, and I was walking and walking and walking, but now I just realized I got to get back to my car, and it's 45 minutes in the other direction. I should have done a total of 45 minutes, but now this is turning into an hour and a half. So I think, be careful about that. You've also got, when I first started running in Westfield, I was running on the track over at Westfield State University. So for those of you who are on this side of town, you've got the college track, which is typically open, especially when the students are gone, like when the weather gets really nice. And also, of course, we have the bike trail in Westfield. So, that's another, you can walk the bike trail. Just stay over to the one side if you're walking to let bikes and runners go by you. But that's certainly another
campus,
option.
Teen, you have a lot of sidewalks on the college campus. You could just go park in the parking lot over near the Woodward Center or whatever, and just go walk around campus for 20 minutes or 30 minutes. And you're not too far away. You want to keep your home base close. So you could always do a loop, get back to your car and say, okay, that was 10 minutes or whatever it is, and I think I'm comfortable enough to do another loop. Well, you're not very far from your car. It's not an out and back where you get too far out and you can't get back.
So, Garrett, for somebody who's just starting a program, let's just talk very briefly before we wrap this up on times, distances, and then hills versus not. So how does somebody, what would you say you start out with? Maybe, do you do it by the minutes or do you do it by the distance?
Well, either or.
Okay.
You do both. So you either want to go, I think it's probably easier for the population that you're talking about, your older adult population, to walk for time.
Yeah.
Because they have a watch.
Yep.
So you could say, okay, ideally, to get any, well, let me back up. You want you would try to hit 20 minutes as your mark. So if you could walk out at a very comfortable pace for 10 minutes out, 10 minutes back, that's fine. Or walking around a small block for 20 minutes, that'd be great. Now, if you cannot do that, if you have a walker, if you have a cane, then you know what? It's cumulative. If you could do 10-minute walks twice a day, that's fine. If you can do 5-minute walks 4 times a day. So really the key is walk at a pace that you can maintain a conversation with somebody, that even though you're walking by yourself, if you're talking to yourself, that's okay. If you answer yourself, then there's a problem. But if you so you can maintain a conversation. That means you're not going too fast and you're not breathing too heavily. You're not putting too much stress on your heart or your lungs. So it's conversation pace.
Okay.
And then you could start off doing, okay, in the morning I'm going to do 4 or 5-minute walks today. And then you could say, gee, that was pretty easy. I'm going to do 2 10-minute walks a day. Then you could do, okay, I'm going to do a 20-minute walk today. You build up to that.
Yep.
And then you could say, I'm going to do a 20-minute walk in the morning, 20-minute walk in the afternoon. So it's gradations. You do it, you don't want to say, and because you want to set goals that are reasonable and that are achievable, and you don't want to become frustrated of not achieving your goals.
Okay, so that's a great place to start. Dr. Gorman will be back next month, so maybe we can continue this on just in terms of getting into a little bit more of the nitty-gritty about distances and things like that, and how people can kind of build up that walking program. Because it's so interesting that we're talking about this, because waiting in the wings, I can see Carol Palmer, who is our group exercise instructor at the Senior Center. She's going to be joining Joe Rouse for his show. And Terry Summers just came in. She's our chair yoga instructor. So Joe, it looks like Joe's got a great show lined up. We're going to sign off. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host. I want to thank Dr. Gary Gorman for joining us this morning. It is 8:02. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses and WCPC cable channel 15. We'll see you next week.
Dip, 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 dip.
You raised me money to buy this time. She get me out of my bed and crying for a job. You're after breakfast every day. She know the one is right my way. I never fail to say. Well, when I get the paper, I read it through and through, and my girl never fails to say, if there is any work for me. I then go back to the house, hear that woman's mouth, preaching and crying, tell me that I'm lying about a job that I never could find. Sha-la-la-la, sha-la-la-la. I then I go back to the house. I hear the woman's mouth, preaching and crying.